price of freedom is death. We are coming to get our check.
Black first, my brothers and my sisters, welcome to the Afro Elite YouTube channel. I'm your host, Afro Elite. As you guys are piling in, we have some things we have to discuss because the reparations movement is still ongoing. The reparations movement, we've had a huge rally earlier this year. The rally for reparations, shout out to everybody who was there. Shout out to all of the speakers. Shout out to Tariq. Shout out to the foundational Black American community. Shout out to everybody who was able to help us contribute to that. This is the rally, and just the general case for reparations is a key factor, really the biggest factor as to the loss of everybody's favorite Indian, Kamala Harris. The reason why Kamala Harris lost was because of reparations. Let's all remember that, all right? Going back, and this is very important that we do this, going back into what she said that caused her loss and why reparations is such a sensitive matter, all right?
The reality also is this. Any policy that will benefit Black people will benefit all of society. Let's be clear about that. Let's really be clear about that. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm going to do something that's only going to benefit Black people. No.
And she should not have said that because that cost her the election. She lost terribly. All right. Wasn't close. Was not close whatsoever. So everybody understands how serious the reparations movement is. What they expected is they expected us to talk about reparations, to ask for reparations, to complain that we're not getting reparations, and then eventually we're just going to go back to the status quo the way it's always been. They are used to us being mad. They're used to us being upset. They're used to us, letting some steam off. They're used to us doing that, and then eventually we conform and we go back to the status quo. But now they see this is proof. This is solid, serious proof that we are very, very serious about our reparations, and that if y'all are not going to pay, y'all are not going to cut the check, we will let the entire system crash and burn because we're the ones who save it. Let's be very clear. We're the ones who save it. We're the ones who keep these systems and these parties afloat. We are the ones who do that. Really the ones who keep American democracy and dignity afloat at all period. We are the ones who do that. So we have let it be known, and it's been abundantly clear that we're not going to be stalled out. They're not going to be able to wait us out. That's exactly what they tried to do. The Democrats with this election, they tried to wait us out. They tried to be like, you know what? If we just hold off for a little bit, they'll be mad, but eventually they'll go back to the way they used to be. Right? That didn't happen this time. So now you have a lot of people. A lot of the anti-reparation is coming at our reparations with different strategies. We got different strategies and we got different arguments, and we have to dissect this. This is why it's very important that you guys are here. As you guys are here, it was also very important that you guys make sure that you guys hit that thumbs up button, hit that like button, and hit that notification button, and then be in the comment section. And as you all are doing all of this stuff, we're going to play this so we can protect the interest of the channel. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Okay, the first video that I want to talk about is this one right here. This is from notorious Charlie Kirk. Now, Charlie Kirk is one of those alt-right, like super right-leaning MAGA lovers and everything. He has his platform, I guess it's some type of company or something, where he goes around and he sets up a stage and he selectively talks to people. A lot of this stuff is staged. Some people think that this video that I'm about to play for you all might be staged. It might be, it might not be, but we're going to discuss the argument regardless. But he sets up a lot of staged talking points. He goes to like different colleges and everything and quote unquote debunks people to try to prove his alt-right nationalist agenda. So right here, we have the situation where he is, I guess, at some type of event or park or something, and somebody asks him about reparations. I already played the copyright thing, so all of this is protected under fair use, all of it.
Hey, my name's Blair. Just got a question for you here. How do you feel about the black community receiving reparations?
I'm against that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, why so?
Well, first of all, what is the black community? So, for example, do you mean like recent immigrants from Haiti or Nigeria?
I do not. No.
Okay, for sure. So you're meaning like ancestral descendants of slaves.
Correct.
That
Yes,
could
sir.
be proven with documentation.
Absolutely.
Right?
Now, I will say, some people in the comment section were saying when I posted this, because I posted this on Twitter before I posted it here, some people were saying he's non-FBA. Arguably, this statement right here where he says he's not talking about non-FBAs, he's specifically talking about people who can prove their lineage back. He's specifically talking about us, because we're the only ones who can prove our lineage back to slavery. If he's specifically talking about us, I see you all in chat room, thank you, then that means whether he's non-FBA or not, he's arguing on our behalf. Now, I will give him credit to the fact that when Charlie Kirk did try to be all like, well, what is the black community? That the whole talking point of, well, black people, there's some from Nigeria, there's some from Jamaica, and there's some, they were not here. This is why the delineation was so important. All right. Now, I know it really gets at a lot of people. It really triggers a lot of people. It touches on people's emotions. And I can comprehend why, but it's very important that we do that. It's very, very important that we do that. The delineation thing is very important because this is the argument that they're going to make. That's what Charlie Kirk first tried to make, is he tried to make the thing of, well, if we say all black people get reparations, he's going to say, first off, it's unconstitutional. Second of all, it's not right because they're recent immigrants, so they shouldn't get anything. This is why the delineation thing, like, no, when we talking about reparations, we only talking about FBA. That's the only group of people we're talking about, all right? They get reparations from their government in their country, but we're talking about FBA reparations. So that was good. Let's continue.
Okay. So to be consistent, do you believe that other groups that have been mistreated in America should also receive reparations?
What are those other groups?
Well, they're not necessarily by America.
I'm going to say, first off, and I like that answer too. What are those other groups? Because that point right there is where most people mess up. That point right there is be all like, yeah, everybody should get reparations. When you say, yeah, everybody should get reparations, what that does is that cracks the door open a little bit. It cracks it open a little bit for then him to be all like, well, white people, you have to say white people deserve reparations, don't you? So don't even allow them to crack that door open. If they say, well, other groups of people have been harmed, our argument going forward, how we update things going forward, is be all like, well, who? I don't know nothing about no other group of people being harmed. I don't know nothing about that. We are, as Foundation Black Americans, we are not supposed to, is really, to be honest, at this point in time, off code, to be advocating for any other group of people. All right. We are in a very sensitive era when it comes to the reparations movement, in a very vital time. It's really, how I see it, off code, to be honest, for you to be arguing on other people's behalf, knowing full well that those other groups of people will be used as a buffer class to help with the assistance of subjugating your group of people. So we can't be doing that. So I am glad that he was like, yeah, because that's why other groups of people, I don't know nothing about no other groups of people getting harmed. I don't know nothing about that. Let's talk about this right here. All right. So He was right on that. Give him his credit for that, and then we're going to keep going.
But let's just take one. Jewish Americans, right?
Okay.
They almost got eliminated in the Holocaust. Should they receive reparations?
Not from us.
Okay, not from us.
Not from the United States, that is.
Okay. So here's my view, and I want to hear yours,
Okay.
which is that I did not own slaves, and you were not a slave.
Correct.
Right. So we are individuals, and therefore we cannot be held accountable or should receive something from something that didn't happen to us or something we did not do.
All right. When it comes to, I'm gonna just get this off the screen for a second. When it comes to people who make arguments against reparations, there's only really two different types of arguments against reparations. I'm gonna pull the video back up in a second. There's argument A and argument B. Argument A is that reparations for our group of people is immoral. Reparations for our group of people is punishing white people who didn't do anything. That's the argument they make for reparations. All right. That's argument A. It shouldn't come out of the tax dollars of white Americans because white Americans didn't do anything and we weren't slaves. So we shouldn't be receiving anything because we didn't go through what they went through, all of that stuff. That's argument A. Argument B, which we're going to get into later on in the live stream. Make sure you guys stay tuned. Argument B is you guys are going to waste the money anyway. So talking about argument A, what defeats this argument, and this is why it's very, very important to know history, what defeats this argument is knowing the history of other groups of people. For instance, when the Japanese people were in internment camps, they were in internment camps for a little bit of time, and everybody knows about that, but they received, oh, no, that's wrong. They received reparations. They received reparations to their groups of people. Not only did they receive individual checks, let's not ever forget that. They received individual checks. This happened in 1988, which was not that long ago whatsoever. They received individual checks from the federal government based off of what had happened to their select group of people, to their lineage of people. They also received additional money and funding to their community. All right. They received additional money and funding to the community. Nobody ever makes this an argument of why should America have paid the Japanese reparations money? No, you have never heard that argument. You've never heard it. Nobody complains about that. Nobody says that that was wrong. And nobody says that this is America can't give checks. America has given checks. Also, when people bring up the Japanese getting reparations, a lot of people like to be all like, well, the Japanese only got reparations because they have a foreign nation, and that foreign nation backs them up. And that foreign nation is the one who forced America to give them reparations. That argument is defeated when you talk about the quote-unquote Native Americans. This is Henry S. Truman in the 1940s signing legislation for the Native American community. Not only did the Native Americans get specific set-asides and specific legislation for that in the 1940s, they also got stuff pretty much with every administration prior to that. Okay, you had, not prior to that, after that, you had Obama. Obama made sure that the Native Americans also get additional funding and additional protection and additional government benefits. Obama made sure he did that. For the people who are saying, okay, well, see, this is why you got to be with the Democrats because they don't mind reparations. Not only that, Trump also had specific set-asides. He signed 3 bills on behalf of the Native American communities, giving them more additional money. Now, some people are saying that that's not Native Americans. I might agree. But anyway, they're the ones who are a part of the tribes of Native Americans. We'll say that. Trump also gave them additional money and additional protection, as well as Obama. And then after Trump, Biden also gave them additional money and additional support, additional protections. things that we don't get at all. So in every administration, Native Americans are at the White House. Native Americans are by the president. These are the $5 Indians. You can look at these people. If you look at these people and say that they're descendants of Native Americans, now these are the same people who will argue us up and down that we have no ties to indigenous. We have no indigenous ties whatsoever, but they sit up there allowing this person, these people up here, to claim to be completely indigenous, 100% indigenous. And no argument is made to, man, you don't look indigenous at all. You don't look indigenous at all. So nobody really ever has a problem with anybody else claiming to be indigenous except FBA. The only people who anybody gets triggered by somebody claiming to be indigenous is FBA. And we are literally the only group of people. But I digress. But this goes to show that when it comes to every other administration, every other group, there are specific set-asides. Now, the specific set-asides, I want you to keep this in mind. We are never brought up when the Native American tribes and their leaders and their organizations and their advocates, when they go to the White House and they push for legislation, they push for more money, they push for more land and protections, we never get brought up. We never get brought up. It's never like, well, if we can't talk about Native Americans without also talking about Black Americans. Never does that statement come out of anybody's mouth. That's number one, which is why we should look at everybody else as being a competitive group against our group. So all of this advocating for anybody else is off code at this point, especially when it comes to reparations. You won't catch me doing that at all right? Because what you're doing is you're reversing the momentum that we've had when it comes to reparations. All right. So we shouldn't be doing that. Now, I brought all of this stuff up to say when Charlie Kirk makes his argument that I didn't own a slave and I didn't do these things and I shouldn't have to pay for these things and all of this stuff. Just keep in mind that Charlie Kirk does not make that argument. You've never, ever heard Charlie Kirk make that argument when it comes to Native Americans who have gotten things and still consistently get things. They still consistently get things. And the same people who are so anti-reparations when it comes to us have no pushback whatsoever when it comes to these other groups of people. None at all. They literally have no pushback when it comes to these other groups of people. On top of that, going back to the video, on top of that, Charlie says, if I didn't do anything, I shouldn't have to pay. And if you were not a slave, you should not have to pay. And we're going to play that back a little bit because I have some things to say about it. I would appreciate every single last one of you guys if you guys like the video as we're going through.
I did not own slaves, and you were not a slave.
Correct.
Right. So we are individuals, and therefore we cannot be held accountable or should receive something from something that didn't happen to us or something we did not do.
Now, he said we should not receive something for something that we did not do. What is inheritance? And this defeats the argument when you bring up inheritance, because if your parents buy a house, your parents work for a house, your parents work for money and all of this stuff, and your children inherit that. The children didn't work for the house. The children didn't buy the house. The children didn't do boo-wop the bam. The children didn't. There's a discrepancy I see between YouTube and StreamYard, but that always happens. When it comes to inheritance, with the argument that if it didn't happen to you or you didn't do it, you shouldn't receive it, that completely dismantles the argument of inheritance, which they never do because they still inherit the benefits of that. They inherit the wealth of that, the land of that. You got people be all like, my great-great-grandmother owned this house and I own this land. But so that is how you defeat that argument of you shouldn't get it because it didn't happen to you. Okay, well, you shouldn't get this house because you didn't work for it. You didn't buy it. You didn't do that stuff. You shouldn't get that house. You shouldn't get that land. You shouldn't work for your father, take over your father's business. You didn't build that business. That's how you get to that. That's it. And they can't, because the fundamental argument completely gets reversed. So either they have to drop the argument or concede to the fact that they lost, but they can't really argue it because it's going in reverse. That's very important. Another thing, when he says he shouldn't be held accountable, okay? Nobody, and this is why it's very important for us to understand where reparations is coming from. Reparations is coming from the government, the United States government. We are not asking every single white person to chip in when it comes to reparations. That's not what is being required. All right? It's not. So, and nor are we sitting up there talking about jailing, putting every white person in jail and putting every white person in chains or anything. We're not doing that. They always try to word reparations as if it's punishment for white people. Only our reparations. Keep that in mind. Only us. Is it punishment for white people? Which is what he's trying to say. Why should white people be punished for something we didn't do? All right. Now we're going to continue.
That is a basic law of justice, that I can't be held accountable for something that somebody looked like me did, and you should not benefit from something that somebody you were related to.
Now, see? Okay, but when it comes to inheritance, remember, that argument don't go nowhere. When you bring up inheritance, if he said that one thing right there, it would have been it. That would have been over with. It would have been over with. Okay? And he's talking about he shouldn't be held accountable. Well, you live in a country. And here's another part of I know I paused it for a little bit. Here's another thing. You live, how you beat that argument is I shouldn't be held accountable. Anytime somebody says that, this is what you say. Okay, you do understand though that you live in a country that owes money. You are a citizen of a country that owes money. You didn't have to do it. I didn't fly a plane into the World Trade Centers, but when the government decided to give reparations to the victims, I didn't get a say so in that. I'm not responsible for 9/11, but the government used government money to pay for the damage and for the families. When the government gives money to Native Americans, I didn't displace these $5 Indians, but the government gives government money. Even though we subsidize the government gives government money to the Native Americans the same way the government gives government money to the Japanese Americans, the same way the government gives government money to repair all of the things that the government did wrong, except when it comes to us. And that argument does not get made. That argument doesn't get made. When cities, here's another argument. When cities have a settlement, when a person has a settlement against a police department, or the city, whether that's the police department, the fire department, anything like that, the city has to now pay for this settlement. Nobody in the city says, hey, hold on, I didn't crash that fire truck into that man's car. I shouldn't have to pay for it. No, that argument doesn't get made. See, I get that Charlie Kirk is more prepared when it comes to this, but this is why if you are going to go to Charlie Kirk or anybody of his ilk, you have to know this off the top of your head. Off the top of your head. You can't sit up there and be looking this up and thinking about the arguments. If you are here to represent, which is what he's attempting to do, and I'm not trying to disrespect the brother, but I'm just trying to say, if you are there to represent on behalf of reparations, it got to come like that. It got to be instant. It literally has to be instant. It has to be in the back of your mind all of the time. All of these little arguments, you got to block them off when it comes to everything they say. Now, I'm going to play a little bit more.
You would probably say systemic racism and how that passed down through generations. Happy to address that. The problem with reparations, though, is basically what you're saying is I'm going to take money from Charlie Kirk for something he didn't do and give it to a group of something, to somebody of something they also didn't do. For what reason? How is that just?
And see, okay, don't do that. Don't concede to that. As you can see, the brother nodded his head a little bit. Okay. And this is why people think that he might have been a plant. I'm not going to say that right now, but this dude, I mean, he conceded very early on. I'm going to be very honest. Look at this. I'm going to make it bigger for you. when Charlie Kirk makes that statement, he's going to sit up here and nod his head, which means he's nodding in agreement. All right.
Basically, what you're saying is, I'm going to take money from Charlie Kirk for something he didn't do, and give it to a group of something, to somebody of something they also didn't do. For what reason? How is that just?
No. Okay, and then listen to what he says afterwards. And it's not, and going back to it, it's not taking money from Charlie. Don't make it, because what they try to do is individualize reparations. Be all like, I didn't do it. Why should I have to pay? Oh, no, you don't have to worry about that. The government's going to pay. If they make the argument that, well, my tax dollars pays the government, at that point, here you say, first off, your taxes are not going to go up because the government pays reparations. Clearly, the government pays reparations all of the time. The government gives money away all of the time, and people's taxes don't go up. They try to make the argument that every time the government gives money, taxes have to go up to keep the economy together. That's not the case. That's not the case. That's not how taxes and all that work. That's not how that works. All right. So you do not let them individualize the reparations thing. Why should I have to pay? Oh, no, the government's going to pay. Well, I pay the government. Well, you live in the country. So that's just what it is. That's just what it is. But then listen to what he has to say afterward.
So not so much how is it just, but there are those arguments that says because of what happened in the past, this group of people have been negatively affected from this nation's crimes against humanity to that certain group of people. And that's how we see it, or how some people see it, if you will.
Okay. No. That's not what you're supposed to say. That's not. And a lot of people, I know y'all being harsh. I'm a give a little leeway, even though it is suspect. What he's doing is suspect. Even if we give him a little bit of leeway and say, because we don't know where he's from or where his people from. This you cannot represent like this. Okay, listen back to it and let's listen back a little bit closely.
Arguments that says because of what happened in the past, this group of people have been negatively affected from this nation's crimes against humanity to that certain group of people. And that's how we see it, or how some people see it, if you will.
Okay. No. That's not the argument you make. The argument that you make is that our group of people, and then he's trying to, then it becomes a vague thing. That's how some people see, how we see it. Then no, that's how some people see it. How some people see it. No, that's the reality of the situation. Is now it's like he's backtracking a little bit. It's like he's taking it like he's scared or anything. No. That's not, first off, it's not how some people see it. When you use the word see it, you're making it seem like it's a matter of perspective. It's not a matter of perspective. Racism is not a matter of perspective. Slavery was not a matter of perspective. The wealth that was made during slavery is not a matter of perspective. This is something that is tangible. This is something that exists today. The wealth exists today. The wealth became other things. And all of this stuff exists today. So there are still people who are very, very wealthy off of wealth that was generated during slavery. That is it. And now they have that wealth locked in their own communities, in their own society. And you have the people who built the wealth, their descendants are now kept out of the wealth that our ancestors built. So it's about regaining the wealth our ancestors generated. That's the argument you make. It's not about, it's even less about racism. There's validity to that, right? To talk about the fact that we've been disenfranchised. All right. The flaw, let me get this off. Okay. The flaw with that argument, I hope you guys are hitting that like button. If you guys are hitting the like button, put the thumbs up in the chat room. Everybody put the thumbs up in the chat room if you guys are hitting that like button. And I'm going to get to your super chats in just a second. I see you all. Thank you. The flaw with that argument is when you talk about well, this group of people have been set back and this group of people have been harmed. That starts to open the door. It does. It starts to open the door for other groups of people to be all like, hold on now. Other groups of people have been harmed. Other groups of people have been set back. You can't just say it was your group of people that's been harmed and your group of people that's been set back. You can't just make that argument. No, don't make that argument about that. It is about the wealth. Dr. Clyde Anderson talks about that all the time. It's not about we've been harmed and we've been disenfranchised, because you start to open the door and you allow a little bit of wiggle room for other groups of people to start coming in and be all like, well, okay, well, I guess that is the case. But Hispanics have also been harmed, haven't they? Asians have also been harmed. I mean, you can't say they're not harmed too. And then you have to say all immigrants really have been harmed to a degree. What about poor whites? What about them? No, don't open that argument. Don't open that door. Okay, don't even let it crack open. Stick with the wealth. That's it. That's all you need to talk about. That's the only thing you need to talk about. Stay with the wealth. Stay with that. Then when you talk about that's how other people see it, no, that's not how other people see it. That is how it is. That is how it is. And one of the reasons why I don't like to use the term of like we've been set back, which we have, instead of it as a debt that is owed. See, when you frame it, and this is why it was very important when we went to the rally for reparations and how we were framing the argument. This is what I'm saying. When I made my speech, when we were at the reparations rally, I was talking about the fact that it is owed. It is owed regardless. It's owed regardless, because when you talk about we've been set back, then it takes away from the fact that it's a debt. When you say it's a debt, that means it's owed regardless of the condition of the person it's owed to. So that person can be homeless, that person can be well below the poverty line, that person could be just completely have not a dollar to his name or her name, is owed reparations. This person can be a multi-billionaire, and that person is also owed reparations. So it defeats the argument of, well, we should give reparations to the poor. And it also defeats the argument, because what they'll do is, well, cash is not the smartest way to go about it then. Well, let's come up with some type of program that's going to repair the community. Let's come up with some type of new DEI program or new affirmative action program that's going to help the community. What are we talking about? Affordable housing and more food stamps, because that's really going to help the poor. No, don't even give them that much room. It's about wealth. It's about a debt that is owed. My people built it. You owe them. Y'all didn't pay them. So now you owe me. That's just what it is. Keep it simple like that. When you give them wiggle room, now Charlie Kirk is about to take off.
Okay, sure. But I will say that even if there is some truth to that, which I wouldn't even be willing to grant very much, because Black America was doing incredibly well before the not incredible. They were pacing to be even richer than white America. Is that we must look through the question of, is it just and moral to take from one group, especially first and second generation immigrants that had nothing to do with this? So think about it. Your tax base would be taxing, like, if anyone here is Irish or Polish and your family came 100 years ago, we would be taxing people that had nothing to do with it. And I'll go a step further.
Well, they shouldn't have been here then. No. They should. And this is how you make that argument. Oh, well, we had nothing to do with it. And then go home. If y'all don't want to pay, go home. Y'all don't get to come to a land that's been developed by slave labor and then talk about, well, we didn't participate, so we should get the benefits of this wealthy land, but we shouldn't have to contribute anything. Oh, no. First off, it's not like we taking money out your check weekly or monthly anyway. But if y'all don't want to, y'all can go home. Oh, yeah, y'all can go home. That's how you beat that argument. Tell them to go home then, because y'all don't get to come after the food is made and then say, I don't want to put in. No. Y'all go home at that point.
My family fought on the Union side of the Civil War.
And that man, do y'all believe that Charlie Kirk's family honestly did fight on the Union side of the Civil War? First off, that's something that they all make that argument. All of them make that argument. My family fought for the Union, which was racist too. The Union was racist and anti-Black too. But my family fought to free the slave. They all make that argument. Apparently, even though there was a huge civil war that lasted for years, nobody has any family that fought for the Confederacy. Nobody. All of their family fought for the Union. Who the descendants of the Confederacy, we don't know where they are. They just vanished after the Civil War because the only people who survived was the Union and their descendants. Because they all of them make that argument. I'm a descendant of the Union, of course. I'm sure you are.
Right? So you're going to be taxing Charlie Kirk, whose descendants fought to free the slaves, to go give money to people that were descended, from slaves. So what is a way that we could try to help all communities? Here's maybe we can find some common ground, right? Instead of reparations.
No, he's talking about what are some ways that we can help all communities instead of reparations. And then he says, sure. No, ain't no sure. Ain't no helping on no all communities because all communities were not enslaved in this country. So ain't no helping all communities. You don't let them dictate how they're going to pay you back. No. And it shouldn't have gotten to this point. This is why you don't even let it get set up. See, once you let him get set up, he's going to take it there. Then he's going to be like, well, if it's about helping the poor, what we should really do to help the poor is we should really put more money in the schools. And then that's in the schools, in the colleges, and then convince the kids to go to college. No, ain't about no college, ain't about no school, ain't about none of that. It's about giving the money back to who the money is owed. That's what it's about.
Sure. Is that we need to break the cartel of public sector teacher unions, allow school choice to occur, and make it easier for people of all backgrounds, but specifically Hispanic and Black individuals and young kids to have a quality education, because a good education in K through 12 is one of the most assured ways that they'll be able to succeed later in life.
Man, we not doing that. This is reparations. Y'all did not come here and gain wealth off of intelligence. Y'all gain wealth off of free labor. Their communities gain wealth off of free labor. Y'all don't talk to no Native Americans. Notice that. No Native Americans here. Well, we just need to put more money. Native Americans really need school choice. Is really what they need. Japanese Americans, they really need some school choice. Y'all sending all this money to Ukraine and all that stuff. Y'all not talking about no school choice for nobody else. When it came to the reparations that the victims of the 9/11 situation, when it came to that and them getting their money, nobody was talking about no school choice. Only when it comes to us is about, well, K through 12 and the education in K through 12, what we need is more high-speed internet. No, that's right. Nancy, let's put some money bag emojis in the chat room. If it's about the money and it's not about no school choice, no school vouchers, no college forgiveness on no debt, no none of that, okay? It's not about transportation, is not about, no, it's not about that, all right? Now, yeah, let's put some money bag emojis in the chat room as we wrap this up. This one video.
Secondly, we need to put fathers back in the home.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I agree with that, yeah. 70% of Black kids are raised.
And first off, that's not his business. And then you got this dude again. He's going to sit up there and concede. You don't concede to nothing. Listen.
Because a good education in K through 12 is one of the most assured ways that they'll be able to succeed later in life. Secondly, we need to put fathers back in the home.
Yeah, I agree with that.
No, okay, and with the father back in the home, he still owed money. No, this ain't, see, and this is why you have to set it up right. This ain't no reparations for poor people. This is not reparations for poor Blacks. This is reparations for a debt that is owed to a lineage. That's a lineage whether the father is in the home or out the home. Okay, so if the father in the home, which you don't owe the family money because the dad in the home, no. It shouldn't even have gotten to this point, which is why a lot of people suspected, because he folded and he conceded to too many damn points. A lot of people suspected that this was a plant. And Charlie Kirk does this all the time because Charlie Kirk really can't stand his own in a debate. Charlie Kirk really is not that intelligent. So Charlie Kirk and all of these other alt-right people over here who do stuff like this, they always set up plants so they can seem more intelligent, like they're just intellectually superior than the average person who disagrees with their narrative and talking points.
70% of black kids are raised without a stable father in this in the country. So if we can find common ground on that, I think that would go a lot further than just giving cash for people that happen to be related to something that evil that happened a little while ago.
Evil that happened a little while ago. Then notice how he kind of downplays it. Yeah, something that happened to people who are related to happen to people. No. So this is the argument that is being made. Okay. As we move forward and as we push the needle for reparations, we have to be abundantly clear about how we set up the framework for it. When you build a house with a shaky foundation, the house is going to collapse. You got to build a house on a strong foundation. You have to set your argument up on strong foundation, strong principles. The principle is, and these are the principles of it. The principle is that number one, it is a debt that is owed. All right. It's not about helping the poor. It's not even about combating racism. Okay. Because other groups of people experience racism. So it's not about no other group. Well, first off, I'm gonna be honest. Number one is only about our lineage. I would say that. Number one, it's only about our lineage. It's not about nobody else, about us and us alone. Us and us alone. We not talking about reparations for everybody who had a bad day. We're not talking about reparations for everybody who has said something rude to. We're not talking about reparations for everybody who grew up poor. We're talking about reparations for slavery in America that didn't happen to any other group of people. So this is where you frame it from, base it off of. It is only us who's warrant of anything. That's number one. Number two, when it comes to who pays for the money, the government pays for the money. The government subsidized, or the government sanctioned, slavery. The government sanctioned slavery for years. Even before the United States existed, there was still slavery on this land when there was the colonies and everything. So the government owes reparations. Slavery was benefiting the government. The government was able to use this and subsidize the economy and trade and become this powerful nation. So now it is up to the government to pay us back the same way the government has paid back everybody else. The same way the government paid back the Native Americans, the same way the government has paid back the Japanese, the same way the government paid back 9/11 victims, the same way the government pays back the Holocaust survivors, even though that didn't happen here. The same way the government owes, all right? Point number three, all right? This is not going to take away from everybody's taxes. Everybody's taxes is not going to go up, is not going to skyrocket whatsoever. And when people make the argument, well, my taxes still go to the United States government, and I shouldn't have to pay anything at all. Well, I mean, you can leave. You can leave because that is the debt America is owed. Finally, you frame it as a debt that is owed. That completely blocks off any of the alternatives, because what Charlie Kirk tried to do is he tried to come up with an alternative for reparations. School choice, fathers in the home. These are the little alternatives for reparations, all right? Don't let them come up with any alternatives whatsoever. There's no alternative to the debt that is owed us. So that's why you have to frame it like, no, this is not about quote unquote helping the poor. It's about a debt. So you don't get to come up with some type of different version of how you want to pay it back. You can't say it's not warranted. Always say when it's a debt, we always have to say it is about the wealth that was built. Because if you say, oh, slavery ended a long time ago. Well, the wealth is still around today. There are still people, and this is why you have to know it off the top of your head. There are still people who are wealthy, rich and wealthy, okay, based off of stuff that was done in slavery, based off of slave labor. So, and because of that, they get to be wealthy and they get to live, and the government still keeps this wealth because we built Black Wall Street. If y'all didn't know, we built Black Wall Street. So the government gets to keep all of that stuff. And we got to sit up here and be destitute, and we got to make ends meet, even though our ancestors are the ones who made them wealthy. No. So you have to, and this is what Dr. Clyde Anderson was always about. You have to keep it on the wealth. It's it's even if you want to make the thing about morally, you can make a moral argument, but the thing is, morally speaking, it's hard to calculate. Morally speaking, it can be dicey when it comes to calculating how it is. Morally speaking, when you want to have that argument, it can kind of go all over the place. It can be this never-ending argument when it comes to that. When you talk about the trauma, which is why I don't bring that up, even though it's very important and does need to be paid back, but I don't bring that up because when you talk about the trauma is not something that somebody can really put a solid number on. All right. How are you going to say, well, is Michael's trauma worth $10,000 or is really Michael's trauma worth $8,000? Is Jessica's trauma or Nicole's trauma, is that worth $1 million or is that worth $50,000? Like it becomes very dicey. Okay, and what we need to do, setting this stuff up, if you are going to represent, you need to make sure you don't leave any room for argument. Don't leave any room for speculation. Don't leave any room for anything to be misinterpreted. All right. So this is not about trauma. This is not about even more. It's about morality. Of course it is. It's about morality. Wow, there's a huge discrepancy between StreamYard and YouTube. That is crazy because we've been over 300 on my screen. But okay, we over 300, y'all. Y'all know what we got to do. We got to hit that like button. We got to hit the 100 emoji. They hating on me, y'all. Anyway, this is how you set that argument up. Even though there is an argument to be made about trauma, I am not going to deny that whatsoever. There is definitely an argument to be made about trauma. Just like you, and this is why we're trying to make the argument when it comes to the Tulsa, Oklahoma survivors. Because what happened to them was morally wrong. It was traumatic to them. So the argument can be made. Don't let me sit up there and take that off the table. But what you base your argument on is the wealth. That's why Dr. Claude Anderson was so successful, because that's what he based his argument off of. You base it on the wealth. Okay. If you want to make a separate case and give the trauma argument an additional boost, that's fine. But you have to base it off of the wealth that is made, that was taken from us. Also, when people make the argument, like what he said right here, actually, let me play it back a little bit. What he said right here.
Even if there is some truth to that, which I wouldn't even be willing to grant very much, because Black America was doing incredibly well before the not incredible. They were pacing to be even richer than white America. Is that we must look through the question of,
okay, we were doing well. We were doing well really right after slavery. The problem is that, and what they like to do when they make that argument, then they like to immediately go into welfare, and then they like to be like, oh no, it's y'all fault. Y'all the ones who decided to go with the government. Y'all the ones who decided to use all this welfare and food stamps and all this government subsidies, and that's on you. Don't let them do that. Don't let them, when we're talking about reparations, don't even bring up welfare. Don't even bring up government assistance. Don't do that, because they're doing that to put the blame back on you as the Black person, and back on Black culture, and to say, oh, well, it's not even our fault. Y'all was doing well. Y'all messed up. Why should we have to pay for y'all mess up? No, it's on them. Okay. They're trying to take it off them and put it on you. No, don't let them do that, because if they want to bring up the welfare situation, which they always take out of context, because they never put into context that all of this stuff was really around the time, a little bit after the government, around the time, I'm going to say, the government, was putting drugs in the community, and the government was putting guns in the community, and the government, which has already been exposed, created the crack epidemic within the community, and then started locking people up, throwing people in jail for decades and decades. Okay, creating a huge racial disparity between crack cocaine and powdered cocaine. Okay, they don't want to put that into context. They don't want to put into context that we had land that was taken away from us with eminent domain. the government was just like, knock, knock, knock. Hey, you know what? We're going to use this area right here. So you got to get out of here. And then you just had to leave. So your fathers, your grandfathers, they would save up, they would get a house, and then somebody could just come to the door and be all like, hey, well, you know, according to the government, we own this land now. So now you guys got to get up out of here. So imagine how difficult it would be. You save up, you work 30, 40 years, you get a house, you own your house, and then somebody comes up to you. You're out of your prime. You're going into your older age. You're out of your prime. It's not like you can go back to the workforce and buy another home. You're out of your prime. And then they'd be all like, oh, this is my house now. On top of, and this is why you have to know it all off the top of your head. On top of the fact, after World War II and I, when soldiers were coming back and they were getting government subsidies, they were giving government benefits like the GI Bill. And they was all like, well, the soldiers, you brave soldiers, you guys get house, you guys get money because we're going to give you a house and check, and we're going to give you free college and free this and free that, and you all won't have to pay this or pay that. But that don't apply to the black ones over there. The black ones over there, y'all got to go back to, you know, getting lynched and stuff. So the black soldiers went back to the same racism that they were experienced prior to going and serving the country, but the white soldiers came back and they got the GI Bill. So you got to know it. It got to be off the top of your head. You have to know all of this stuff. All of this stuff factors into the huge racial disparity between the wealth gap that we're seeing. Then you can, I can go on and on. You can talk about redlining. You can talk about the Highway Act. You can talk about, for instance, with Tulsa, Oklahoma, you can talk about the fact that there was no white version of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And blow up no white cities and towns and stuff like that. You can talk about the fact that there's no white version of Lake Lanier. The lake that, if you guys didn't know, that lake used to be a neighborhood, a whole community. And it was deliberately, strategically flooded. So that lake, at the bottom of that lake is an entire city. And the city was just completely flooded. They strategically designed things to strategically flood the whole city. So literally, it's like Atlantis, okay? You know how like at the bottom of the ocean is this great city? That is Lake Lanier, all right? That's like the real life version of Atlantis. When you go to the bottom of the lake, there was actually a city at the bottom of a lake that was a black city. So this stuff, and then Rosewood and all of this stuff, Bruce's Beach and all of this stuff, and I'm sure we can go on and on, Oscarville and all of this stuff, right? Just Oscar. So we can go on and on and on about all of this stuff. So you have to factor all of that stuff in. So when they try to make the argument that you guys were doing well before welfare, you guys were doing great before welfare, so it's your fault. You can't say it's on me. It's not on me. It's all on you. It's your fault. And if you guys would just stop having children out of wedlock and go to work and get a job and go finish college, and I'm saying you guys would be good like I am. Don't let them even get to that point. If you set up the foundation right, they wouldn't even be able to get to that point. All right. Let's get to some of the super chats. Super chat from Timothy says, 1988. That is true. 1988, Ronald Reagan signed a reparations bill for Japanese immigrants. Why isn't Charlie Kirk talking about taxes in paid to illegals in Biden administration? That's another thing. That's another great argument. Taxes didn't go up because of Biden. Nobody's paying higher taxes because of illegal immigrants that are being subsidized and paid for by the United States government. That is not happening. All right. So that's a really good point. Then Tell It Like It Is says, what about debts? Yeah, what about debts? Yes, if someone dies, any debts they have while alive will have to be settled by the surviving family members. That's another thing. If I owe somebody some money or whatever the case is, and if something happened to me, my family now has to take care of that stuff. If I owe somebody a lawsuit or whatever the case is. See, these arguments don't get made when it comes to any other circumstance. That's why you got to come off the top of your head. All right. Going to Timothy again, says 1.3 million was found by Kathy Hochul for Holocaust. Didn't happen in America either. Didn't happen in America. And you had no pushback. Anytime they get any type of money, their community, the Native Americans who people claim to be Native Americans, their community, no pushback. No pushback. Nobody else gets any type of pushback. It's only us. And the reason why it's only us is because they understand that they understand that our reparations is going to change the status quo, is going to change the racial hierarchy. Us as foundational Black Americans getting reparations is a threat to the racial hierarchy in the country. Nobody else getting reparations is a threat to the racial hierarchy. That's why they can give it to Japanese people. That's why they can give it to the $5 Indians. That's why they can give it to them and give it to them and give it to him and give it to her. They can give it away to any and everybody because that does not threaten the status quo. It's not going to threaten the racial hierarchy. It's going to be just fine. Only when it comes to us, is giving us reparations or letting us get ahead and closing that racial wealth gap, that is what threatens the status quo. That is what threatens the racial hierarchy. That is what threatens white supremacy. So that is why they are like, under no circumstance can we give it to that group of people. Anybody else, everybody else, fine. Not them. Only not them. Not them at all. No conversation with them whatsoever. All right? So that's why there's no pushback when it comes to anybody else getting it. All right. Then Walter sends a super sticker. Thank you, Walter. I appreciate that. I got a good brother, Hurricane. All right. Says, when people move to another country, they take everything that comes with it. That's very true. Including, all caps, including its debt. You heard that. Immigrants pay up. That's true. Yeah, that is very true. They are the one. Nobody forced. First off, we are the only people who are forced to, or we are the only people who have people in our lineage that were forced to be here. Now, all of the people in our lineage were not forced to be here. We have people who are here prior, but we did also have people who were forced to be here. All right, through the transatlantic slave trade. All of the other of everybody else came voluntarily. So that's why they can't really make any other claim for reparations. They all came voluntarily to this country. All of them did, because this country was wealthy. So they don't get to leave a poor country, a destitute country, a failed country, to come to a wealthy country and then be all like, well, you know what? I'm here for the benefits. I'm here for the wealth. I'm here for all of this stuff. But I shouldn't contribute to the debt that is owed by this country. Oh, that's not how that works. Oh, that's not how that works. Because you can go back. If you don't want to pay nothing, you can go back. It's cool. We won't miss you. You can go back. If you adamant about not paying nothing, you can go back and no hard feelings. But if you're going to stay, you're going to pay. See, that's the motto now. When it comes to immigrants, be all like, my family didn't. No. If you gonna stay, you gonna pay. That's it. You gonna stay, you gonna pay. Okay, I'm gonna start saying that from now on. If you gonna stay, if you want to stay, not gonna stay. If you want to stay, then you finna pay. You want to stay, you finna pay. That's just what it is. All right. Then you have Latoya, how you doing? That's my sister, right? She says, glad to be here and can't stay too long. Well, that's cool. That's cool. You know, can't stay too long, but look into the brainwashing of Black and Hispanic households. Yeah, and that's why you got a lot of Black people who are brainwashed into believing this Black and brown stuff, and which we are going to get into. We are going to get into that later on. And thank you. I'm glad she was able to make it. She's never able to make it to lives. But now we're going to get into, see, you have those arguments from the alt-right, but you also have the arguments from the tether community. Okay, so now you have arguments from the Myron Gaines. Now I talked about argument A. Argument A is, why should we pay reparations? We didn't do anything. You guys don't. Why should we have to suffer? Argument B. This is what argument B is. Argument B is that you guys are going to waste the money. You guys don't know how to spend the money. You guys are not financially literate enough. All right. So we're going to get into argument B. Before we do that, we got some cash apps. Shout out to Cyberdyne and Antithesis for your cash apps, my brothers. Thank you. I appreciate you. So this is argument B. We discussed argument A. We broke it all down. Argument B. Here we go. So he's ranting like usual, like normal, but this is him.
You stupid ass niggas want the American taxpayer to give you guys the money so you can go ahead and run and use it to buy some Jordans, weed, Hennessy, and all the other stupid shit you niggas do. You guys literally are terrible with your money and don't want to work hard. Then you want to go ahead and insult immigrants, call them tethers, and all this other shit. You niggas are tethers. You guys are foundationally black Americans. Well, let me get this straight. Hold on one second. You stupid ass niggas were born here. Your father was born here. That isn't in your life, by the way. Your mother was born here. Your great-granddaddy was born here. Your granddaddy was born here. Your grandma was born here. So you've been here for what, 7, 8 generations, and you're still on Section 8? I think that's a big L. The Kembe comes from Nigeria. I come from Sudan. Some niggas come from other places in Africa, whether it be Jamaica, maybe the Caribbean, because you guys don't consider them black either. They're all tethers according to you dumbass niggas. They come over here, they become multimillionaires, they become successful. They don't blame white supremacy. They just go get the money. Their skin color doesn't keep them from success, and then they lap you. And then you stupid ass niggas get on X and complain about white supremacy, tethers jacking our style, tethers jacking our culture. Your culture. Your culture is nothing more than stupidity, rap music, killing each other, putting that up, then going ahead and making excuses for why you dumbasses end up in jail and get choked out like dumbass George Floyd, aka George Fentanyl. But you niggas want to sit there and say some nigga named Chauvin went ahead and killed him. No, he was a drug user. He's a career criminal, but you dumbass niggas want to give him a gold casket. This is why no one respects the black community. You guys are backwards. You guys go ahead and put murderers at the top. You niggas will sit there and worship someone like King Von, but then someone comes along that is actually positive, tells you guys what the it really is, and you dumbass niggas will call him a tether because he's not a foundationally black American. That's why you guys are so backwards and no one respects you dumbass niggas. You guys are stupid as low IQ, and stupid in every regard. Every regard. Black immigrants come here and lap you stupid ass niggas. That's why dudes from Africa, you say that they're black, they say, I'm not black, I'm African. Why? Because they don't want to be associated with the stupid ass niggas. That's why. All right? So no one wants to be an FBA. No one gives a about your culture. You want to sit there and cry about where you're not supposed to be or whatever it may be. No one cares. Everyone laughs at you stupid ass niggas behind closed doors. I'm the only one that has the balls to tell you what the white people, the Asians, the Pajeets, the Jews, and everybody else says behind closed doors. You guys are a bunch of crybaby loser that have been here for 7 generations and y'all niggas are still broke, spending your money on wondering why you're poor.
Now I had to just let you guys get the full version of that, and then I had to bleep it out. All right, had to let you get, because we're gonna break it down. We are gonna break this down, but he just rants and he gets so emotional and he just goes on and on. Amru, okay, that's his name, Amru Foodie or food, whatever however you pronounce his last name, right? His name is not Myron, actually. That's his stage name. All right. Like a little stripper, Myron. He got a little stage name like a stripper. But Amru goes on this crazy rant. You see, he's so emotional and his face is turning red and he's spitting and yelling and screaming and all that stuff. So I had to let you guys just get the full raw version of it, and then we got to circle it back and break it down because I couldn't do it the first time. Because if I tried to chop it up every 2 seconds, I'd be pausing every 2 seconds. All right. So go into it.
You stupid ass niggas want the American taxpayer to give you guys the money so you can go ahead and run and use it to buy some Jordans, weed, Hennessy, and all the other stupid you niggas do. You got
okay. You guys are going to buy Jordans, weed, and Hennessy. First off, they use the thing of weed as if the only black people smoke weed. Okay, and to be totally honest, I've seen studies that show that white society smokes more weed than black society does. All right. All right. So we already went through that.
You guys literally are terrible with your
And then the whole thing of Jordan and Jordans and alcohol and all that stuff, all of this stereotypical pocket watching that goes on. This is a lot. It's a lot of stereotypical pocket watching that goes on, especially from non-FBAs.
money and don't want to work hard. Then you want to go ahead and insult immigrants, call them tethers, and all this other. You niggas are tethers. You guys are foundationally black Americans. Well, let me get this straight. Hold on one second.
See, and that's what bothers him, because Myron or Amru, he is a very, very deeply insecure, pathetic, sad man. That's what he is, okay? He's insecure about a lot of things. He's insecure about the fact that he had to flee his own country. He's insecure about his sexuality. He's insecure about all of this because he's a closet homosexual. He's insecure about all of this stuff. He's insecure about his masculinity, his manhood. He's insecure about the fact that women don't like him. He's insecure about the fact that when men are around him, men are always more calm and more masculine, all right, and more confident. He's a very insecure thing. That's why he's going off right now, because of the word tethers. Tethers bothers him, all right? That's why when they act like, oh, they don't care, they don't care. Oh, yeah, they do. Oh, they do. It hits a deep nerve. Even the ones who pretend like they don't care, they do care, because it hits a nerve with them. It triggers the insecurity that they have about themselves and their bloodline.
You stupid ass niggas were born here. Your father was born here. That isn't in your life, by the way. Your mother was born here.
That's not in your life, by the way. But nobody knows Myron's parents. He don't bring his parents or his family up. But okay.
Your great-granddaddy was born here. Your granddaddy was born here. Your grandma was born here. So you've been here for what, 7, 8 generations, and you're still on Section 8? I think that's a big no.
Man, okay. And we've been here for so long, and we're still on Section 8. Okay. Majority of black society is not on Section 8. And to be honest, and how you defeat this argument, because this is about defeating arguments, how you defeat this argument is to be all like, well, if we're going to talk about government benefits, this is why you have to know it off the top of your head. If we are going to talk about government benefits and government aid, you do know that white society gets more government aid than anybody else. White people receive more benefits from the government, more food stamps, more special assistance, low income poverty programs than we do. Now, we are the only people who get stigmatized for that, but this is why you have to know that data, that fact. You have to know the fact that, okay, well, I mean, that means, technically speaking, that all of you guys get it more than us. Plus, him and his family being immigrants, you guys get DACA programs and all of this stuff that we couldn't apply to. All right. So you got to know, don't even try to defend the argument of welfare. Here, what you do is you flip it back on them. You got to flip it back on them. Be all like, to be honest, if we're going to talk about welfare, you guys fleeing your country and coming to a richer country, that seems like a handout to me. That if we're going to go with welfare, this is how you flip it on the tethers. If you want to talk about welfare, you coming over here is kind of welfare. It's kind of like if you leaving a poor situation and you need the government, our government, to help you with your poor situation by immigration, that's kind of welfare. If we really put it all in the same framework, in the principle of welfare, you fleeing over here is welfare. So really, all of the immigrants and all of the tethers, you guys are the biggest beneficiaries of welfare ever. To be very honest, everything that you guys get is due to welfare. You guys wouldn't be successful if it wasn't for welfare. So what you don't even defend, don't stand on the defense. You got to go on the offense. And you got to flip it back on them.
The Kembe comes from Nigeria. I come from Sudan. Some niggas come from other places in Africa, whether it be Jamaica, maybe the Caribbean, because you guys don't consider them black either. They're all tethers according to you dumbass niggas. They come over here, they become multimillionaires, they become successful. They don't blame white supremacy. They just go get the money. Their skin color doesn't keep them from success, and then they lap you. And then you still.
And that's an argument that they've been making for the longest time. Oh, immigrants are lapping you all. There's not a single immigrant class, okay, whether that's Nigerians, whether that's that they're not doing anything that is different. There's not anybody, he's not doing anything that's different. Do you all know he's not a multimillionaire? His net worth, if you Google his net worth, it's actually 600,000. His net worth is not he's not a multimillionaire. He used to lie for years and claim that he was a multimillionaire and he had millions of dollars. But when you actually Google his net worth, it's not that. He is not a multimillionaire, all right? Especially after the demonetization of YouTube. He's not really making money like that, which is why he's on any streaming platform that pays a little bit of money. He's on all these streaming platforms because he got to make up for the loss of YouTube. Ain't none of them really doing nothing new. All it is, they come over and they become multimillionaires. Where are they doing these amazing things at? Because when you go to their communities, they look about average. They look about average, and ain't none of them doing nothing new. That's why they get triggered when you bring up the Postmates and the Uber Eats and all of this stuff, because they be driving the Uber Eats, but online they like the Princess Zamunda. Online that they came here from Wakanda, and online they princes and princesses and all of this stuff, and they rich and they got these built. Y'all ain't doing really nothing new. There's nothing new, nothing phenomenal. The richest people in this country are foundational Black Americans. That's been how it is. The richest people in this world are foundational Black Americans. That's just what it is. We are the richest Black ethnic group in the world, and we are the richest Black ethnic group in this country. That's just what it is. Ain't none of them doing nothing new with them welfare-dependent asses. None of them.
But ass niggas get on X and complain about white supremacy, Tether's jacking our style, Tether's jacking our culture. Your culture. Your culture is nothing more than stupidity, rap music, killing each other, putting that up, then going ahead making excuses for why you dumbasses end up in jail and get choked out like dumbass George Floyd, aka George Fentanyl. But you niggas want to sit there and say some nigga named Chauvin went ahead and killed him. No, he was a drug user. He's a career criminal. But you dumbass niggas want.
Then he goes, see how emotional he gets? Then he goes all over the place. Now he bringing up George Floyd and fentanyl and all of this stuff. And notice when he snaps off like this, he doesn't snap off around like this energy and this anger that he has. When you see him go on his rants, notice that there are no men around. Notice that when Myron gets really riled up and really snaps off and really emotional, Myron's never around no actual men who can check him. Never. He'll snap off online in his own room, just screaming at his own laptop. He'll snap off to a bunch of hookers, which is what he pays for. Now, if Myron or Amru, if Amru is going to talk about how we spend our money, we got to talk about the fact that Amru buys hookers because it's been exposed. He goes on the little hooker websites. No, just to them. They get in a bag, I guess. But he goes on the little hooker websites and buys little hookers and escorts and all of that stuff to come on his platform so he can say that they're not worth anything. So his incel fan base can be happy that a man is talking down to a woman. And this is what his entire platform is based off of. Buying strange little young hookers. That's what his platform is based off of. While he's talking about us buying Jordans. We can't buy Jordans, which are shoes, okay? People need shoes. Now, you don't need Jordans, but people need shoes. We can't buy Jordans, but he can buy hookers for a YouTube channel that doesn't even have monetization on YouTube. Okay.
To give him a gold casket. This is why no one respects the Black community. You guys are backwards. You guys go ahead and put murderers at the top. You niggas will sit there and worship someone like King Von, but then someone comes along that is actually positive, tells you guys what the it really is, and you dumbass niggas will call him a tether because
yeah, he's positive. And notice when it comes to King Von, they bring up King Von a lot. All of the people who are like, you guys worship King Von and you guys worship King Von. I don't know nobody who worships King Von. I know some people who like King Von's music and who listen to King Von's music, but King Von's been dead for over 4 years now. And they still bring, you got more of the alt-right and the white supremacist wannabes who bring up King Von more than any black person. We as black people don't be bringing up. King Von was a Chicago rapper. Some people be like, who is that? They don't even know who King Von is. King Von is a Chicago rapper. Nobody, even when King Von was alive, nobody was worshiping King Von. See, that's that little alt-right projection that we worship King Von. And King Von, we don't even bring King Von up. It's a very weird thing with King, very specifically King Von. King Von's been dead since 2020. All right. And they still, you guys worship King Von. Okay. That's just all right. They really have no better argument.
He's not a foundationally black American. That's why you guys are so backwards and no one respects you dumbass niggas. You guys are stupid as low IQ, and stupid in every regard. Every regard. Black immigrants come here and lap you stupid ass niggas. That's why dudes from Africa, you say that they're black.
No, we are not getting lapped by nobody. And that's their projection because they're insecure. Most and I'm gonna be honest, and this might hurt some feelings. It might hurt some feelings, but most immigrants, when you talk about them having to leave, they're insecure. They're insecure about it. Most of them are very insecure because how could you not be? How could you not be ashamed of your bloodline? Honestly, no diss to them, because some of them were born in this nation, but how could you really not be? You can't be proud of a bloodline that fled their own homeland. There's nothing proud to be about that. And I'm not saying that all of them are shameful. I'm not trying to paint them all with a broad brush, but it's really not a prideful thing to talk about I'm a descendant or I am a fleer. It's not really a prideful thing like that. So when a lot of them have a lot of projection and insecurity when it comes to us who are here and who've been able to fight for everything, because they have not been able to do that. So they're looking at us like the winners that they wish they could be. You know, because we can look back at our ancestry with pride and they really can't do that. You know, it really, and this doesn't even just go for the black immigrants. This goes for all immigrants, which is why there's a very unique hatred for us specifically. Because all immigrants have this thing of their bloodline. They can't have the pride in their bloodline that we have. They can't have the pride in their legacy, in their lineage, and their ancestry that we have and that we do and that we talk about all the time. Okay, this is why number one, they'd be trying to project as if they're better than they really are. That's number one. And then number two, they try to tether themselves onto our lineage. They try to be all like, well, you know, our ancestor, Dr. Martin Luther King, our ancestor, Harriet Tubman, our ancestor, Rosa Parks and Frederick Douglass. And they try to tether themselves to us because we're the ones who have a prideful bloodline. We're the ones who have a prideful lineage. And this is to be fair. I'm not saying that nobody from outside of America has anybody prideful in their bloodline. Okay, because I know some people going to be triggered by that. But a lot of them are insecure. And you can see it in Amru. You see that in Amru. Continuing.
I say, I'm not black. I'm African. Why? Because they don't want to be associated with the stupid ass niggas. That's why. All right? So no one wants to be an FBA. No one gives a about your culture. You want to sit there and cry about where you're not supposed to be or whatever the it may be. No one cares. Everyone laughs at you stupid ass niggas behind closed doors. I'm the only one that has the balls to tell you what the white people, the Asians, the Pajites, the Jews, and everybody else says behind closed doors. You guys are a bunch.
Ain't nobody even saying that stuff behind closed doors. We already all the things he's saying is things that we've heard.
Okay. Crybaby loser that have been here for 7 generations, and y'all niggas are still broke, spending your money on wondering why you're poor.
I mean, this man is, look at his face. He went on this whole rant. Now, this dude is supposed to be an alpha male, a role model, and everything. This man is supposed to be stoic, not emotional. He talks about women and emotions all the time. And look, he's almost out of breath. I want you to just pay attention to almost how out of breath he is. You can tell this is not just coming from, oh, you ranting about us, because why are we on your mind all the time? If they're so much better, why do we as foundational Black Americans live rent-free and on their brain? I mean, we live there rent free and we can't leave. They won't let us. Not only do we live rent free, when we be trying to leave, they won't let us leave. Look at this.
Money on is wondering why you're poor.
He had to take a breath. This man had to, he went on a whole rant for like 2.5 minutes, had to take a deep breath. You can see the sweat building up on his, look, you can see, look at it. He looked tired. He's tired. He looks tired. He had to take a big breath afterwards. Okay. He is exhausted. Because we literally do live rent free in their mind. We live very rent free in their mind. Now, I want you guys to just logically think about this. If these immigrants were lapping us and doing so much better than us and all of this stuff, and we were just these poor, broke, welfare, black folk, and we couldn't get it together, and we always blaming somebody for our problems and all that stuff, why do you think they care? Would they care? Would they, honestly? If they were just doing so great, honestly, and they were so prideful, and they didn't even want to be like us, and our culture wasn't anything, and they had pride in their own culture and their own bloodline and legacy and heritage, why would they care what we think? Do you care what the loser thinks if you're the winner? No. The winner doesn't care what the loser thinks. The loser cares what the winner thinks. You can clearly tell right now, based off of Myron's expressions and his constant rants. Do you think Myron is ranting like a winner? Do winners rant like this? Are winners obsessed? Do renters live? Do the losers live in the renter's head rent free? Or are the winners always in the loser's head rent free? Y'all let me know. Y'all let me know. If we as Foundation Black Americans, I'm going to say this, if we as Foundation Black Americans, if we're the winners, the real winners that live in all of these tethers and all of these insecure little tethers' minds, put the black fist emoji in the chat room. Because this doesn't make sense. It just doesn't, it's illogical. It is very illogical. Now, the whole argument of we gonna waste the money and we gonna waste the money, that's not your business. We should give the money to you. You buy hookers. You buy prostitutes. You buy OnlyFans models to sit at a small little kiddie table. So you can tell them that they're not making their dad proud. And you can tell them that they have low IQ and they're stupid. You spend all this money on what? On strippers. He literally buys strippers and hookers while he's telling us that we waste our money and we do bad with our money. He spent years developing a brand only for him to be so emotional, so insecure, because that's why he does all this stuff when he wears the Klan hood and all of that stuff, because he wants to be accepted as a white man so bad. And he went so far, he destroyed his entire brand. Myron destroyed his, Fresh and Fit is never, ever going to be as big as it was before. The audience is getting smaller. Is getting more difficult for them to find financial revenue. They're not getting bigger. Myron isn't growing. Myron did say he wanted to get a bigger studio. Myron has not gotten a bigger studio. It's not a more fancy studio. Nothing has improved. Nothing has changed. Myron, his insecurity, or Amru, his insecurity destroyed his entire brand. And he's thinking about us. But we're the losers, though. But we are the ones who live rent free in his head. I'm gonna say it one more time, and we're gonna have to move on. The losers don't live in the winner's head rent free. The winners live in the loser's head rent free. We're the ones who are constantly thought of. We're the ones who are constantly talked about. We're the ones who are constantly referenced. We're the ones who are videos being made out of and rants being made out of and disses being made out of. We are the ones. That's proof we're the winners. We don't even got to say anything. Look at the haters. Look at who's mad and you can tell who won. Just look at it. Now, another strategy as far as the reparations thing is concerned is the black and browning of reparations, which we cannot allow whatsoever. I want you guys to look at this. So in California has recently passed a lawsuit to a bunch of California residents. Okay, which that's cool. That's cool, I guess. That's cool. But as you can see here, a lot of people are making it seem like this was black. Now they have a black man on the thing, but when you look at the details, you see that word right there, Latino, black and Latino. But they'll have all, when you go to any article, the only people you'll see on there are black folk. You'll only see black folk on there, but they'll have black and Latino. And this is not really reparations. This is them winning a lawsuit. All right. So now what they're trying to do is they're trying to call any and everything reparation. We're going to look into this a little bit. It says the Palm Springs City Council on Thursday unanimously approved a $5.9 million reparation settlement with former residents of a largely black neighborhood that was leveled in the 1960s for commercial development. Okay, and that's something that happens to us all the time, to us specifically all the time. And then look at where it goes. It says the city council was also set to approve another $21 million for housing and small business support aimed at the former resident and their descendants. Okay. And then it continues, former residents of the Section 14 neighborhood, which also includes Latino families and other immigrants. So anytime we get something, the damage is done to black folk, but then what you call the reparations, that gets done to Latinos. If you call this reparations, the damage is done to black people. We got to suffer. We got to go through the redlining. We got to go through the eminent domain. We got to get our land stolen. We got to get our property taken from us. And then when we get lawsuits, when we win the lawsuits, then it comes, okay, well, let's give it to the black and brown. See, there you go. And these are the same brown people who tell us that our reparations is a handout. Now, Charlie Kirk ain't gonna say nothing about brown people getting anything, but these are the same group of people who will tell us that us getting reparations is a handout. All right, for Latino and other immigrants. So no, we can't play that game either. Which leads me to this. We can't, first off, we cannot allow anything and everything. What they're going to start doing is now they're trying to build back, some good faith. So now anything they do, any type of lawsuit, anything at all is now reparations. Anything they do, a settlement, reparations. Just call it reparations. If you work for this job and on the day you get paid, we're just going to call, instead of a paycheck, we're just going to call that reparations. Okay? If anything at all, restitution or lawsuit or settlement or anything, it's now just reparations. So now they're calling any and everything reparations now. All right. So that's not what this is. All right. So we got to know ahead of time. This is the strategy that they're going forward. Everything is now reparations. And then they invite other groups of people. Now we'll be at the front and center of the pictures being taken. All right. Keep this in mind. When it comes to the pictures being taken, it's black people. They'll put black people in front of all of the cameras and they'll be all like, oh my God, look at how progressive we are. Look at the reparations that we're giving these people. Then when it comes to the money being divvied out, that's when the Hispanics and the Asians and the other immigrants, that's when they jump the line. So it's the black people who's there for the photo op, there for the pictures. When the camera goes away, then here comes the Hispanics and Latinos to supersede the black families getting anything. So we got to be very careful with that. Also, we got to be the whole black and brown thing. We have to be very careful with any of the black and brown thing. Have you guys seen this? I'm sure a lot of you all have. Check this out. So you got this guy out here, and he's trying to do the whole black and brown thing when it comes to our reparations too.
Most of the so-called Africans or African American people are actually indigenous to this land. You know, they were already here. Columbus didn't find nothing new. There were already people here, you know, and he was in search while he was studying prophecy and scripture, trying to find a holy people that were promised the land that was located to the west, which was essentially us.
Okay. First off, we've been saying that we were already here for the longest time. Now, what I find very disingenuous is that when we say, as foundational Black Americans, we were here before Columbus, it's we're pretendians. We're pretendians. We were not here. All of us 100% came through the transatlantic slave trade. That's the argument. All of us came through the transatlantic slave trade. Then when a non-Black person comes up and says, oh, we were here, there's no argument. Like I said before, all of these other groups of people can claim Native history, can claim Native ancestry, except us. We're the only ones who people be all like, no, you have no Native history, no Native ancestry, no Native anything. Yet they can, and there's no pushback. Notice how he talks about quote unquote African Americans when he's referring to us, he's talking about us separately. And then when he tries to conclude that statement, he uses us all together. So he starts off acknowledging us as our own group. And then at the conclusion of his sentence or statement, then he used the word us as if we are all together, this black and brown thing. Let's continue.
When he came on this land, he called us Indians because he thought he landed in India, which it wasn't true, you know.
It's us again.
But we're melanated people. Some contain a little bit more melanin than others.
No, see, but we're melanated people. Some contain more melanin than others. What he means is this is to include white Hispanics. This is to include descendants of Spaniards. So now what they're trying to do is they be all like, well, I mean, we're all the same. Now, you might contain more melanin than other people. No. Don't let them get away with that, because with that, anybody who has a tint that's not completely pale skin, they're going to be all like, well, we're all melanated. They were saying the same thing about Kamala. They were saying the same exact thing about Kamala. Oh, well, you know, anybody whose skin is not completely pale, anybody who's not a palm-colored person, they'd be all like, well, I got a little bit, maybe a lot of bit less melanin than you, but we're all the same kind of on the inside. We all bleed red. No, ain't going to go with that. Ain't going to go with that. And our reparations is not for melanated people. Our reparations is for our lineage.
You know, but we're still indigenous to this land. This land is ours. You know, so all this reparations and stuff that they want to give, you know, 40 acres and a mule or whatever, that's frivolous. That wouldn't account for anything.
Who are you to say that? His family was not ever owed 40 acres and a mule. He said all this frivolous 40 acres and a mule. Who are you to say that, sir? His family was not owed nothing. He don't get the right to tell us what. Now, even though the 40 acres and a mule clearly is not enough, but that's not his place to say. He don't got the right to say that.
You know, that's blasphemy against our people.
Against our people. Notice how he's the tie. Notice the tethering he's doing. That's blasphemous against our people. Our people. His people ain't owed no reparations.
Black and brown.
Our people, black and brown. Just listen to the whole thing.
You know, that's blasphemy against our people, black and brown.
We're black and y'all. We're black and brown people owed 40 acres and a mule. Can somebody what are we doing? What are we talking about? Now that see what they'll do is he starts the conversation off verifying what we say. He starts the conversation off giving validity to our reparations claim and when they give validity to our reparations claim, then they try to tie themselves in. You know what I'm saying? That's what he's trying to do. He's like, yeah, they were here first and they are indigenous and everything like that. And then, when it comes to the money that we are owed, to the black and the brown, with the 40 acres and a mule that they owe us, it's bad for our people. Then he starts using all of these inclusive little terms and words and phrases, which is why a lot of people think about delineation as far as just delineating from the diaspora. We talk about everybody. We ain't doing no more black and brown. We ain't doing no more people of color. We ain't doing no more minorities, disenfranchised community. No, we ain't doing none of that. Okay. This man just tried to tie Hispanics in 40 acres and a mule. Oh yeah, that's black, dude.
We need our land back, point blank. There's no amount of money that can substantiate the amount of killing and bloodshed that's been done.
Okay, well, I would say if there's no amount of money y'all do have some money, so give me what you got. We ain't gonna do that, and that's another part that we have to debunk. Anytime they do, well, really, there's really just, morally speaking, there is really just no amount of money. There's just no money in the world that can make up for what was done to your people. There's just no money. So let's just forget about giving you anything. No. No. There's no amount of money that can make up for what was done to you. Well, I mean, you do have some. So give me what you got then. Give me everything you got. If you saying you ain't got enough, I'll take what you got. You know what I'm saying? You don't get to get away with not paying because you claim there's not enough money. Give me what you got. You got something. You got more than what you should have. Give me that. That's so we ain't gonna do all of this. There's no amount of money, the bloodshed and the horrors about it. So no, you got some money. We can do with that, and we'll deal with all of the other stuff later. How about that? How about that? No. See, what they do is he's trying to tie it in, and then now he's going to try to act as a spokesperson for reparations, which is what he's trying to do right now. And then he's going to try to be all like, yeah, and that's why money is bad. I wouldn't accept no money. Oh, well, that's fine, because you're not going to get none no way. He's like, oh, there's no amount of money that can make up for what was done. Oh, I'm glad you think that, because you wasn't getting nothing. I'm glad he thinks that. I'm glad he thinks that. You can represent your people, okay, in Spain or in Mexico or wherever you're from. You can represent them and you can say, hey, there's no amount of money. But don't come over here. Don't come here and try to tie yourself to our lineage and try to tie yourself to our reparations claim and then talk about there's no money that's going to make up. No. Go back to your Hispanics and you do that over there, okay? Because you ain't going to get no money over here no way. So don't come over here like you were representing something and then talk about we don't want no money. No. Ain't no we. All that we and us and black and brown is over there. You go over there and you do that. Don't come over here as if you represent nothing. Continuing.
On our people. Point blank period. So I don't know. It would be somebody me asking you, hey, how much do you think you're worth? Are you worth 40 acres and a mule? Hell nah. I think you're priceless.
Well, I am priceless, but I still do need to get paid. Yeah, I'm priceless, but I can still get paid something. All that. What is a human life worth? What is a human life worth? Well, I mean, you can argue what a human life is worth, but I do know what all that cotton picking was worth. I do know that. That's what I do know. Anytime they try to make it this moral thing, like money is like an immoral thing. What was your ancestors' life worth? Nah, I don't know. I don't know that, but I do know how much money was made on that plantation. That's what I do know. What was this harm? What is it? Where it's not? What was your life worth? I don't know, but I know how much money Chase Bank got. So yeah, maybe about that much. I know how much money Wells Fargo has, so maybe about that much. I know how much money is made off of Wall Street, so maybe about that much. We can argue that. That's what I do know. I do know how much money America made off of the transatlantic slave trade. I know that. So I guess I'm maybe about worth that much, maybe a little bit more. Oh, that's how you beat that argument. The whole argument of our people it's never gonna be enough. Well, give me what you got. Give me what you got, and we can all go home sad. But I ain't gonna go home sad and broke. That's just not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. We all gonna be disappointed. It's never gonna be made right, but it's gonna be made righter. That's it. It's never gonna be 100%, but it's not gonna be no damn zero. I'm not going home sad and broke. That's just not gonna happen no more. He's been going on for a little bit about it. He has another clip. Have you guys seen this one? A caller calls in and asks him about reparations.
I do not consider this the United States.
Explaining, he does the same thing.
I do not consider this the United States, and I don't give a shit what anybody says. This is our land. We did not cross no borders. This was promised to us.
Right.
This is our land. So
and this is another thing too, because a lot of Hispanics, what they're doing nowadays, what a lot of Hispanics is doing now or are doing nowadays is they're saying that, oh, we are indigenous to this whole land. So they're trying to make it seem like they're indigenous to the entire continent. Okay. No, you are indigenous to maybe one part of the continent. Okay. You are not indigenous to the entire. No, you have, and then you're not really indigenous. You have indigenous ties to a part of the continent that's not even in this country. All right, that's South America. You have indigenous ties, but you also have Spaniard ties, and you also have all of these other ties. So now they want to start claiming this. Oh, we're indigenous to this land. Okay, well, your people who represented you, they sold it. They sold it. All right, but let's continue to hear what he has to say.
Reparations, we need our land back. You can go now. You know, so if anybody.
Now, don't say that in America. Go to Mexico, go to Venezuela or wherever you're from. You go there and you talk about we need our land back. Okay, this man is sitting up there in Georgia talking about we need our land back. No. And what do you think is going to happen? We just going to everybody just going to leave? No, man, no. All of this stuff is just to get in the way of our reparations, because what he's talking about is not feasible or realistic, and he knows it.
He's going to speak up about that, though. That would be a big part of our reparations, not just money, give us money, and then what are you going to do? Spend it, and then what are you going to have left? That was part of their agreement when they made all these agreements with.
See, and then look at him, all the whole money. What are you going to do with the money? You're going to spend the money? Yeah, I'm going to spend the money. I'm going to spend the money. This world runs on money. We do not live in a society anymore. We are in 2024, about to be in 2025. We don't live in a society where people trade bags of rice. Okay, we don't live in that society. We do not live in that world anymore. This is not that country anymore. We live on a country of money. We have for a very long time now. So all of this, what are you going to do with the money? You're going to spend it? Yes, that's what you do with the money. That's what money is for.
Indigenous tribes as well as the North American Indians, which aren't separate from us, they're the same. They said they offered them money, minuscule amounts of money for their land. And they were conned into doing these things, bro. And they turned us against each other.
And listen, anytime you hear one of these non-FBAs, any of these Hispanics talk about you turning them against each other, man, no, they flipped very willingly. All of these other groups of people flipped very willingly, and they're still on that page, and they're still on that time today. All of them were participating in the slave trade. All of these Native Americans that people want to cape for so bad, a lot of them were slave catchers. A lot of them were. A lot of them, there were black people in those tribes, and they kicked all the black folk out those tribes. That's why the whole argument of, yeah, my family used to be in this tribe and my family used to be in this tribe. A lot of people don't like to hear that, because the Native American tribes kicked all of them out. a lot of the treaties that included the freedmen, they sent up there and they deliberately and strategically kicked out and ostracized all of the freedmen out of any of the treaty benefits. So, and then when we say that, then it's you guys are being turned against each other. No. Y'all on the enemy side. And nobody had to make you do it. Nobody made none of them do it. These Hispanics, go ask them when you go to Mexico, when you go to Venezuela, ask them how they treat the Afro Latinos, the Afro Mexicans, the Afro Hispanic. Go see how they treat them. When you go to a Hispanic TV station and you switching on the Hispanic channels, you only ever see white Hispanics. They don't even let black Hispanics get on their television. Oh, I'm talking about all of their TV. I'm talking about TV show after TV show after game show after the news after. You don't see a single melanated person at all because they believe in La Raza. They believe in purifying the race, which is whitening it up. So all of this, they're turning us against each other, and that's only for us. So they can create some type of false sense of the desire of unity. We don't even want that no more. We already know what type of energy y'all on. We already know what type of time y'all on. We want y'all to stay all the way over there because y'all the same people who be doing the same racist stuff to us that the dominant society does. So we ain't even having that.
Made us worship all their shit. They cut us. Like I said, they used to cut off our piochlis, our warrior braids. They put us into their indoctrinational system of teaching us these things that we're going to consume our spirit and consume our lives, bro, such as our dietary law that they told us milk is good for your body and all this, and you got to learn this, and you have to learn our language. You got to learn Spanish. You got to worship these idols. You have to do this. And they robbed us of our prayer. They robbed us of our dance. They robbed us of our history. They robbed us of our complexion, of everything, bro.
They robbed you of your complexion. They didn't rob you of y'all complexion. Most of y'all don't look how your ancestors look because a lot of you all sold out. That's the truth. Come on, let's tell the truth. You tell the truth and shame the devil. That a lot of them sold out. This is what they did. And they started marrying and getting into bed and having children willingly with the dominant society. That's why a lot of them don't even look the same. These people who are claiming to be Native American and ties to Native, they don't look nothing like their ancestors. They don't look nothing like their ancestors at all. Because the second the 5 civilized tribes got a break, they was marrying white folk willingly. And ain't nobody made them do it. Now, when we talk about our ancestors and the interracial relationships back in the slavery days, that stuff was not willing. That stuff was not consensual. They was consenting to everything. So they talk about they took our complexion. No, y'all gave it away.
Everything, bro. You know, so reparations should come with speaking about getting our land back.
Man, and you can talk to Mexico. Go to Mexico with that. Don't be coming in here in America, and because we are setting the precedent and we are moving the needle forward for reparations. Now you want to talk about, well, you know, we all of us. Me too, deserve reparations together. And I don't want no money. So we shouldn't get, no. You don't get a say in nothing. You don't get a say in anything. Nothing at all. Because I can't take my foundational Black American ass to Mexico and talk about we don't need money. We don't need this. We don't need that. What we need is land. I can't do that. I can't go to Mexico. I can't go to Venezuela. I can't go to all of these south of the border countries. I can't go nowhere outside of America at all and talk about some we. I would be stoned. I'll be damned. They wouldn't let me get close to getting on no microphone or no stage and talking about some we. And then not only that, have the audacity to sit up there and go against the grain. Say we are all owed this, but what we shouldn't get is money. I wouldn't live to see the next day. We would not live to see the next day if we tried to do something like that. Not that we would, because we never would try to do that. We wouldn't even try to do that. So no, we ain't letting these fake representatives come over here and sit up there and talk to us about some black and brown and the 40 acres in the mule and how much is a 40 acre in the mule worth. Well, I know how much a 40 acres worth. I about kind of know how much a mule is worth. So I guess the debt is owed at that. No. We wouldn't be able to do that. We're not allowing them to come up and represent us. All of this, I don't speak French. Anytime somebody say we, you be we. What's that word mean? We. Well, I don't. I didn't take French in high school. I don't know. I don't really speak French. You say we. I don't really know that. Anytime I hear we, I'll be acting like that's a brand new word. We. What is we? Let me look that up. Hold on. I ain't never heard we. What does that mean? I'll be acting brand new. You said us? What does us mean? Us. What type of language is that coming from? I don't know. Us. I've never heard of us before. The only word I know is me. That's the only word I know. I don't know about no us and no. Anytime they say it like that, black and brown, and I've never heard of and. That's a new word or something. And I don't know, what does and mean? And I don't know none of it. Man, I don't know. We are completely getting that out of our vocabulary, out of our lexicon. Anytime they use us, we, and in that context, we don't know what that means. Tell them I don't speak French. Ain't no we around here. Do I look French to you? Do I have a French accent? I'm not from France. I don't speak French. I don't know what we mean. Stop speaking that language. All right? You in America speak English. They get mad when you say that. These are the arguments that are made because they understand that when it comes to reparations, the movement is heavy. The movement is present. The movement, what we're doing is pushing the needle forward. So yeah, you'll have a whole bunch of people who are coming up because now they understand that this was the reason why everybody's most notorious Indian lost. They have that. So they understand. So you have people who are out here like Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk is out here talking about, well, reparations isn't moral. Reparations is wrong. And you should not get paid any money based off of something that you didn't go through. But he would never say that to Native Americans. And I'm talking about they've been getting caked off since the 40s. They've been getting caked off by every administration since then. Not only that, you also had the Japanese Americans who got paid not that long ago. Pretty much they got money in the 1980s, towards the 90s. It was almost the 90s when they got paid. Then you got the raging Amru foodies, the fresh and fits, the Myrons, the Tethers of the world, who FBA lives on his mind rent damn free. We can't do nothing without him thinking about us, without him thinking about FBA sisters, who he claims he doesn't like. He claims he does not like Foundation Black American Women. He claims he is very turned off. He is very disgusted or whatever, but he brings FBA women up all the time. I don't know. Listen, personally, there's women that I like and then women that I don't like. I don't ever bring up women I don't like because I don't like them and I don't think about them. If somebody, for instance, we'll use food as an example. If somebody doesn't like pork, doesn't eat pork, but they talk about pork all the time, you think that's a little weird, don't you? If somebody doesn't believe in aliens, let's say somebody believes aliens don't exist and we are the only life forms in the universe that exist. If somebody did not believe aliens existed, but they are constantly talking about aliens and UFOs, you think that's a little weird. So when Myron's sitting up there talking about FBA women all the time, but he doesn't like them, that's weird. That is off. When he's talking about how much better immigrants are doing than Foundation Black Americans, that's weird. Because, like I said again, the winners are not obsessed with the losers. It's always the losers who are obsessed with the winners. And then, of course, you're going to have the Hispanics. You're going to have the Hispanics over here who's sitting up there like, this is our land. This land belongs to us. This land is ours. And I don't like the 40 acres and a mule that we were supposed to be getting paid. All of that. All of that. So no. No. We're not going to let that slide. So we got to know all of the arguments, because only a few. Know all of the talking points and then know how to debunk it, because we all have to be representatives of our lineage's reparations. So anytime we go, it's got to be off the top of our head, and we got to know these arguments. You don't even have to know a bunch of statistics and dates and data and all that. You don't even got to know all that stuff. Just the principles and the facts. If you stay within the guise of a principled, factual argument, you're not going to lose. You don't need to know the date and the data and the money. You don't even need to know all of the fine. It is better if you do, but you don't even need to know all of the details to all of that stuff. Just the principles alone defeat all of their arguments. Let's get to some of the cash apps. We got more cash apps. We have our cash app from Nisi, our sister, our good mod Nisi says, Amru Foodie, or I think it's how the last name is pronounced, Foodie or Food, aka Myron Gaines, is a self-hating, white supremacist loving asshole. He is. Oh, he definitely is. But they don't love him back. Torian was in here earlier. Shout out to Torian. Torian was talking about when he goes in their rooms and their Twitter spaces and things, they be cussing him out. They be calling him the N-word. They be calling him darky and all of this stuff. And he just takes it like a prostitute, like a hoe, because that's what he is. I mean, he likes to take things from white men anyway, so we ain't even gonna get into that. Timothy again says, if Myron gets yoked up, brings this video up again, yeah, he one of these days, Myron, the way he be going about it with his emotions getting the better of him one of these days, and I'm not trying to wish any harm or violence on anybody, but I want to send this warning out to Myron that that's probably not the safest idea for Myron. All right. Yo, CCM23 sends a super sticker. Thank you so very much. Thank you so very much. We Next, aka DSB, says everything against FBA will get worse judgment. You either with us or against us. That's what it is. That's what it is. You either are out our way or you in our way. And if you in our way, you gonna get out our way, and we gonna force you out our way. You with us or against us. That's what it is. Then he sends another one saying, keep up the amazing work, my brother, my warrior brother. Thank you very much. I will. I definitely will. And I appreciate your support. We got some more cash apps too. Shout out to Smoke Mo for the cash app. I appreciate that. Thank you so very much. Family, when it comes to the reparations and the arguments, when you know the principles of it, you will never lose. I don't have to know, because sometimes I forget and got to revitalize all of the details and the dates and the informations and everything like that. Let's be honest. Everybody can't be Dr. Claude Anderson, but everybody doesn't have to be. That's the good part. Back in the day when Dr. Claude Anderson, when he was doing his thing, he was really the only one in his era even doing that, especially to that degree. All right. He was carrying all of the weight pretty much by himself to a very large degree. But now we got millions of us who agree with reparations. Now we do got a smaller amount who like really push and represent reparations and like would be considered like a reparationist. So with all of us, all we got to do is the principled arguments. It is a debt that is owed based off of the wealth that was gained from our lineage. Essentially that's it. Because there ain't nothing nobody can say that the federal government owes. That's really all. That's, if you know the principles, you never gonna lose. And as long as you stay within those guidelines, don't let anybody, y'all gonna spend it on Jordans. You buy hookers. You buy hookers, you buy hoes. You literally buy hoes. Okay. And I'm not bullying nobody. Shout out to the hoes. I'm just saying. Now, I do need you guys, if you guys want to follow me on my various social media platforms, Afro Elite on YouTube and Afro Elite on Instagram and the Afro Elite on X. I would appreciate that. And the links to that is in the description below. Also, it's very important, before we all leave here, can we get some 100 emojis as we guys are closing it out? Can we get some 100 emojis? Make sure that you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys hit that subscribe button, that notification button, and leave the comment, cut the check, in the chat room. Let me put that up here. Hashtag cut the check. That's what we doing. That's how we rolling. Cut the check. That's what we doing. Hashtag cut the check in the chat room. All right. As you guys are putting a 100 emojis. I should have had the money sign, but that's cool. That's cool. Hashtag cut the check. And then we got another super chat. Get this off the screen. We got one last super chat from. Can I get this off the screen? Okay, there we go. Got another super chat from a couple of them. Oh, Dave Young, shout out to Dave. Dave says delineation is a must. Absolutely. It absolutely is. And we got to keep the consistency with the delineation movement. Delineation is a must. FBA lineage all day long. 100%. 100%. Shout out to Dave, and then shout out again to DSB. He sends a super sticker. Thank you so very much. I appreciate you, family. Hashtag cut the check. I appreciate every single last one of you all for watching live. I appreciate all of you all who watch recorded. A special shout out to the mods, and a special shout out to the people who watch on the playback. The replay gang is heavy. I see you all in the chat room or the comments. See you all in the comments. When y'all be all like hashtag replay, the replay gang, I think we got like the best replay gang. Okay. Our replay gang is consistent and they are very outspoken about it. So shout out to the replay gang. Appreciate every single last one of you all. Thank you all for watching. You all be safe. Y'all have a good one. All right. I'll catch you all on the next one.